My fellow panelists have been flying along this morning, so I hope to continue the trend here. Get you guys to lunch early. So I'm Greg Meurer. Thank you for joining me here this afternoon. You might have been like me when you see the Iron Mountain name up here and look at your program and say, Emerging Solutions, Iron Mountain? Haven't they been around for 70 years or so? Don't they deal in boxes and storage and shredding and all that sort of stuff? Yes, we do. It's a very large part of our business, but one of the areas that I represent is our Emerging Commercial Solutions group. And really what we're trying to do there is trying to find ways to help facilitate the discovery of data. I think a lot of the same subject points that my fellow panelists have brought up today are very relevant to what I'm going to be talking about here. This is nothing new. We're drowning in data, but we're starving for knowledge. This is a quote from 1982. This has been around for a long time. Just that now there's a lot more data coming at us. There's a lot more variety of that data, a lot more different types of data, whether it be documents, text, video, audio, images, whatever it might be. And it's very hard for any one individual to be able to figure out where a piece of information they need is, who has it, what's the location for that piece of information, and how to make it useful for their particular thing, or for their particular need. So what we have within Iron Mountain have done is we've created an Iron Mountain Insight. And Iron Mountain Insight is a cloud-native solution built on GCP that allows us to have an end-to-end process from processing of the information itself all the way through to a visual UI to allow you to access that data as well. We ingest content from really any source, whether it be a file share, whether it be tape, whether it be paper. We have scanning services. So a lot of our customers still have legacy paper documents going back 30 years. We do have the ability to scan that in as well, make that dark data more actionable as well. And we can do various formats, text, video, images, whatever it might be. We then, as part of our processing pipeline, will enrich the content for each one of those assets. So if it's a document, we'll do OCR, we'll do classification, we'll pull out any particular metadata associated with that. That's important for that particular document. If it's an image, we'll pull out the text on the image itself. If there's closed captioning on a video, we'll pull that out as well. We can pull out numbers for players on baseball games. So you can search how many times did Barry Bonds come up with a particular ad in the background, as a quick example. So we're bringing all of that information out as part of our standard processing pipeline. Again, depending on the types of ingest and types of documents that we're processing, it's going to be different outputs on top of that. Ultimately, what that allows us to do is allows us to enable three main use cases. One is the information governance. We couldn't be in Iron Mountain without really talking about information governance. So anybody's interested, we'll sit down and have an hour conversation about information governance, and maybe I'll put you to sleep. Workflow automation as well, and then the big piece is the content analytics, content analysis, and visualization. Really what we're trying to do with Iron Mountain Insight is add structure to the unstructured content. I forget, dark data or something else, we just kind of hit the same thing earlier in the previous presentation. So I think a lot of us are talking about the same types of things, just in slightly different words. So just real quickly here, a couple of use cases as I will fly through this. Contracts is a big one. It's kind of hits home with everybody. There's lots of contracts out there. They're stored in different repositories in different formats, in different locations. In a place like Iron Mountain, we have hundreds of thousands of contracts across multiple different countries that we're trying to get at. And it's not just the legal department that needs access to that. So sales, revenue management, account management. Really what we're trying to do, you have to have a system that allows really anybody to get access to the information that they need in an easily available format. So this is kind of post-processing. We've taken all the contracts, we've processed them through all of our DUAI, document understanding artificial intelligence, that we've either third-partied or developed ourselves, and added that structure to this unstructured content. We have a UI, so we have the ability very quickly to answer simple questions. How many contracts do we have for customer X? Seems pretty easy to answer. A lot of times it's not. It's very difficult to get to that. With our search capabilities, whether it be the natural language search or through the use of facets, we have the ability from all of that processing to say, okay, I know that this was a contract and I know what customer it was from, so therefore it's very easy to search on that particular thing. Same thing. Show me all the contracts that have payment terms from 90 days. So we know it's a contract. We figured that out through the DUAI. We've pulled out customer name. We've done that through the extraction process. We've also pulled out the contract type. Through similarity searches, we know that this is an MSA, or it's an NDA, or it's some other type of contract that's important to you. And then we have the ability to pull out the other metadata as well from within that document to say, okay, this is 90 days, this is 30 days, 60 days, and get that information to the user's fingertips as fast as possible. This is the fun one. So show me all of your GC comes down and says, give me all the contracts that are non-standard, that have non-standard limits of liability by customer and type. Maybe this was an acquisition of a recent portfolio. You don't really know where to get this information. You don't really know what standard versus non-standard means in a lot of cases. So again, through the use of DUAI, along with all of the metadata and everything else, it's adding that layer of context to it, adding a layer of understanding. What is standard versus what is not standard, and then being able to allow the users to build their searches or build their inquiries on top of that information as well. HR, we talked about HR, Brian talked about HR a little bit earlier as well. We face this as well. GDPR is real, fines are getting steep, and if you play in Europe, then you're faced with this right now. So we have lots of customers in Europe as part of Iron Mountain, and I won't spend too much time on this because we hit on it a little bit earlier, but essentially what we've done is we've gone through all of the HR documents. In some cases we had to scan those in, other cases they were digital, so we were able to process them automatically. Found the PII, the personal information, found out which employee those were associated with, and made that easily accessible within that same UI that you just saw. We're also all about openness and extensibility. So we don't want to have a system, we haven't created a system where you have to have all of the information within our platform and it stays there and you're never getting it out. So we have the ability to integrate really with any third-party system. It's a very open system. We have APIs built to get to actually anything. And this is just a very simple use case. It was one of our financial service providers that had a very manual and time-consuming and inefficient loan review process that they actually outsourced to a company and then had to come back, wait for results to come back and deal with exceptions and everything else. With the use of Iron Mountain Insight, they drastically reduced that amount of time, and the amount of time, actually the 2 to 3 days there, is really just following up with the customer for those exceptions. So it really drove down, increased the time to value for this particular person, made sure that the processing was more accurate and more efficient, and really gave them a much better user experience, which is really the key for them. So in summary, and we're flying through this, so you guys might get to lunch early. For us, the key pieces for Iron Mountain Insight are really about these 3 facets you see right there. What's out there? Where's the data? What is it? How do we understand it? Whether that's through classification, whether that's through extraction, whether that's through understanding semantics or context of that information itself. And then how do we make it useful? And that's really a key piece. We're not just doing this to facilitate search and facilitate the identification of those pieces of information, or those documents or assets. We're really trying to make it usable for the organization. So making that data available for downstream systems, for information governance, for applying policy, whatever it might be, is really a key piece for really any system that you should be looking at. Make sure it's open, make sure it's accessible, and that you're not locked in to any one repository. So I talked fast. Sorry. But there we go. Thank you.